Hey there and welcome. Today we are going to talk about two-step equations using the traditional method. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so with the traditional method, it's the standard method that all teachers know how to do. We are going to go over two different ways that we can solve two-step equations. One way is called the traditional method and the other way is called the Hanger model. And it doesn't actually matter which one you choose. It's completely your choice. You can start off with one and then change your mind later and go to the other one, and that's totally fine. For this lesson, we're going to go over just the traditional standard method. So if I have the problem 9x minus 7 equals negative 7, I'm first going to do what's called my circle of don't touch. Most teachers don't actually know what that is. It's just something that I made up. But 90% of the time, it's where my variable is. It's the one that's different from everyone else. And I'm going to circle it. I'm going to say, I can't touch this. This needs to stay where it is. I need to get rid of everything else on the other outside of the circle that's on the same side of the equal sign. And so I'm going to draw a line going all the way down my problem. And you don't have to if you don't want to, but it's really visually helpful. And so I see that I have this negative 7 here that I need to get rid of. The only way to get rid of the negative 7 is to use inverse operations and create those zero pairs. The opposite of minus 7 is plus 7, so I'm going to add 7 to both sides of my equation. I have to keep it balanced. When I add 7 to both sides, I end up with 9x, which was my circle of don't touch, equals 0. Negative 7 plus 7 is 0. 9 and x are being multiplied together. The inverse of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by 9. Again, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. 9 divided by 9 just gives me 1. 0 divided by 9 is 0. So x equals 0. I can take this, plug it back in, check my answer to make sure it's good. I start with my original problem. I substitute the answer that I got. So I had that x was 0. So everywhere I see an x, I'm going to replace it with a 0. 0 times 9 is 0. 0 minus 7 is negative 7. Negative 7 does in fact equal negative 7. So I know my answer is correct. All right, this next problem, negative 6 plus x over 4 equals negative 5. Again, I'm going to start with that circle of don't touch. I'm going to keep the sign in front so I remember if it's positive or negative. X over 4 is my circle of don't touch. It's the one that's different. It has the variable when everything else does not. The one that's on the outside of that circle is that negative 6. So the inverse of negative 6 is to add 6 to both sides. When I do, I bring my circle of don't touch down. So x plus 4 equals negative 5 plus 6 is a positive 1. X over 4, that's division. That bar means divide. The inverse of divide is to multiply. 4 as a fraction is the same exact thing as 4 over 1. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 4 over 1. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So that's how that happens there. And then 1 times 4 is 4. So I end up with x equals 4. And that's my answer. Again, I can check it. I start with my original problem. I replace my variable with the answer that I got. I substitute that in. 4 divided by 4 is 1. Negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. Negative 5 does in fact equal negative 5. All right, this next problem has two different ways that you can solve it. So we're going to start with method number 1, which is 4 times the quantity x plus 3 equals 24. The first way that you can solve this is you can distribute this 4 into the parentheses. So 4 times x gives me 4x. 4 times 3 is 12. So 4x plus 12 equals 24. It's telling me I have 4 sets of this x plus 3. So when I multiply that out, I add it all up. However you choose to do it, you end up with 4x plus 12 equals 24. Then you can go into your circle of don't touch, which is that 4x. The outsider there that we have to get rid of is that positive 12. So I'm going to subtract 12 for inverse operations, create those zero pairs. 4x equals 12. 24 minus 12 is 12. 4 and x, again, those are being multiplied together, so we need to do the inverse of that and divide them. Divide both sides by 4. You always divide by what you are multiplying by. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we end up with x equals 12 divided by 4, which is 3. The second method, the same exact problem. you can actually start by dividing off that 4 in the front. This 4 is being multiplied, so the inverse of multiplication is division. You can absolutely do that. It doesn't work every single time, but if it works, absolutely do it if you so choose to. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so you end up with x plus 3 equals 6. 24 divided by 4 is 6. Again, that circle of don't touch is that x, so I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and we end up with x equals 3. We got the same exact answer for both problems. Does not matter which method you choose. Either way, check it, take that answer, substitute it back in for your variable. At the very end, you end up with 24 equals 24. All right, this problem is a little bit different than the earlier ones because before that division was just combined with our variable, and this time it's a bunch more. Right, so this time we need to get rid of that 4 to begin with. Right, we have to get rid of this division here. The only way to do that is to multiply both sides by 4. It's currently being divided. We have to do the opposite and multiply. So that 4 divided by 4 on that first side gives us 1. This is why we do that multiplication, why we do that inverse operation, to get rid of the fraction. We end up with x plus 3 because nothing happened there. And then 4 times 12 is 48. So x plus 3 equals 48. Again, my circle of don't touch is just that x. I have to subtract 3 from both sides for those inverse operations. X equals 45. I go ahead, I check my answer, 12 equals 12. Perfect. All right, this last problem, 2x minus 8 equals 4. This is the most common type of problem that you're going to end up seeing. My circle of don't touch is that 2x. The inverse of minus 8 is to add 8. So I'm going to plus 8 to both sides. I'm going to end up with 2x equals 4 plus 8 is 12. Again, 2 and x are being multiplied. The inverse, the undo button, is to divide those two things. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2 so that I end up with just a plain 1x. 12 divided by 2 is 6, so x equals 6. Again, check that answer. Make sure you're right. Substitute your number back in. Substitute that answer that you got in for the variable. You go through the math, you end up with 4 equals 4. We got the same number on both sides. We know we're good. All right, that was a lot. In this lesson, we learned that we can solve two-step equations using the traditional standard method. Until next time, I will see you later. Love you, bye.